Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Team Talks. We talk about teams. And today, I have a special guest for you guys. This is Rob the Football Freak, the football analyst. No, the ACFL analyst. Would you like to go? Would you like to talk about yourself?
Yeah, Rob the football freak. People first knew me from CAA Statue Media when I was doing media in Kansas City for the JSM franchise. Then I got offered with NBC, and today I just covered just about everything ACFL. So, including your team, that's going to go 3-12 this year, according to my barometer. I'm going to release a power rankings later this week.
Well, it's not really my team. It's more, what's it called? Actually, technically, it is my team now, huh? It's not my team, it's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
stadium.
Uh-huh, that's what they all say. We all know which
I
team
mean,
you're
I
really
know.
in bed
I
with,
mean, we
okay?
all know I'm embedded with No Name, but I'm trying to get my podcast out there, and if I can get that going,
You're trying to be
yeah, I'm
unbiased.
trying
I
to.
respect it. I respect it. Just as an analyst myself, I'm never
I'm trying to
unbiased.
learn to
Let's be for
have
real.
more opinions than just No Name, because if I can do that, maybe some big opportunity will come up for me. Anyways, I can go ahead.
Yeah, you know, yeah, for sure.
Um,
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot happening around the league, and team talk could venture out into some of that stuff. Okay, we're very busy here at NBC. That's all I'll say.
all right, so I managed to witness this wreck of a draft. I wasn't like the very front of this. I was in like the front seats. You probably didn't notice me because I'm only like 5'8". I'm getting there, but I'm not in height. I'm not there in height yet. My point being, no, not I'm not 5'8".
Hmm.
I'm like 5'10". What am I talking about? Um. So how did that feel for you? How did that draft feel for you?
Oh boy. Oh boy. Look, when NBC told me I'd be hosting the draft, all right, here's the problem. Here's the problem right off the bat. We did not have enough staff. Okay, so they just tasked me to run the draft, the 2006 ACFL draft, where a lot of crap was going down. Let's be for real, and a lot of trades. Okay, I can't tell you how many trades were sent to me. I can't tell you how many things they told me to say on the teleprompter that they then told me, "Hey, actually revoke that." And I'm like, "Dong, we got to keep this consistent. The audience is expecting a good show. They're not expecting this." I was there in my suit and tie. I was getting ready. I was feeling the moment. I was like, all right, I'm going to announce one of the more stacked draft classes here. There's going to be some drama and excitement. And instead, what I got was chaos. I mean, Coach Thex literally got escorted out of Radio City Hall, which is wild. Okay, I don't think we've ever had a team owner or a team
We
coach
have,
get escorted out of the hall.
we have. I
It's
had the team
crazy.
talk on this.
Not while I've been
I
in
think
at
we,
NBC at least. Not
I
while I've
think we
been running.
have. Coach the X went out for crashing out because of the. I don't remember. Something happened.
Probably was before my NBC days, but could be,
Either way, it was
could
funny.
not be. But anyways, it was one of the more chaotic drafts that I've ever had to encounter. And not to
Well,
mention
I
the
was gonna say,
prospects. I
speaking of
mean, oh
talent,
my gosh.
like we
When
have all these guys.
Yeah, I mean the draft was super talented, but also super toxic. Like I don't think I've ever dealt with more crazy batch of guys. I was talking with my co-host Lillian Peters, and we were like, "My goodness, how many of these prospects are just going to flat out diss the teams that are eventually going to draft them? Just
Hmm.
flat out diss them." And it's been a crazy ride. I mean, to put it simply, all hell broke loose in that draft. And part of it was on us, but part of it was because these prospects, well, they feel like they got privilege, and so they feel like they got a say in what they want. And fortunately, the GMs did not let that deter them from making this an absolutely wild draft, especially in terms of the draft order, which I was not expecting
And
at
how
all.
about them decline trades? Like these trades, like JSM had a bunch of them, but like I knew like after like the second one, things started to get weird. It's fine.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. It was wild. I mean, I've never had so many voided trades in one draft that I've had to cover. And I didn't even put it all on NBC to recap because I'm like, this is too much, bro. But we had so many. They were sending us stuff on the teleprompter. They're like, hey, breaking news, JSM just traded this guy, or breaking news, no name just traded this guy. And then they go back and be like, nope, scratch that. Actually, JSM doesn't have that draft pick. And I'd be like, bro, can y'all get y'all crap together before y'all send it to me? You know, I'm out here trying to host a draft, and y'all are messing with my flow. I've never seen one team botch up some trades so bad on draft day. Okay, and part of it is because, look, the JSM ownership group has long been dysfunctional, but this was the worst I've
Let's
seen
talk
it.
about some of these players though. There were a lot of DB, like there were a lot of defensive players taken in the first round. A lot more than I've ever seen in my life.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, it was
Let me get
crazy.
a count real quick.
I've never. I'm about to pull up the
Yeah, let
draft
me get a count
sheet.
on this. Storm Duck. Duck is a cornerback. That's a one. Al Byron is a quarterback. That's cornerback. That's two. Who is Julius Kausko?
Calico was a
Calico
defensive
is
end.
defensive end. Uh, that was the quarterback.
Wasn't Paul Connors a DB too?
Let's see. Yeah, there's a lot of them, bro.
Yeah, Paul Connors, uh, Martin Vladez Dove. Who else? Uh, Daniel Loomis. Uh, yeah, there were just a lot of defensive ready prospects for these teams. And I think part of it was because a lot of these teams already have their franchise quarterback of the future, or at least they think they do. And so their goal was to build around their quarterback as soon as possible. Was it a mistake? Maybe. But were there a lot of good defensive prospects in this draft that warranted some of those high picks? Perhaps.
Shoot.
I will say though, I've never seen a top-rated running back fall that far in the draft. I mean, we've really reached a crazy era in ACFL where a running back value has really plateaued. It's plummeted over the last few years, and it's at an
I
all-time
mean, you
low
gotta think about it. You gotta
in
think
this
about it.
draft.
What you call it? The guy in JSM, Devontae Kendall has been like Devontae Kendall. There's only really three big people. It's like before what's his name, Benny Luvu, and after Kendall is just Osa being Osa.
Hmm.
And
Basically.
even
I mean, that's kind of it, to be honest. I mean, the Mangoes have had a couple of decent running backs, but nothing crazy. And yeah, pretty much the rest of the league has ignored that position group entirely. And to be honest, as an analyst, I have no clue why they ignore that position group. Because even in a pass heavy league like the ACFL, and it's gotten increasingly pass heavy over the years, and I've covered it on NBC before. But like it's so important to recognize that a good run game, and you can even see this with a team like the Scorpions, where they'll use their fullback as a decoy. A good run game will always open things up downfield, and it has. I mean, look at the Supersonics this past year who won the
who is their
CB.
running back?
I mean, it wasn't like they were crazy on the ground. It wasn't like they were crazy on the ground, but their quarterback could at least take it for a few. And that really is some of the big difference. It's like when you're just air raiding, when you just have an air raid offense that is too gets too predictable, you can end up like Cole Morse, another quarterback that I've covered before, where it's like he gets to the playoffs, he still puts up good numbers, but teams are scheming for his passing attack. And so what ends up happening is you don't have a release valve for that, and so it's easier for them to sit back with 8 in coverage and wait for the defensive line to get there. And that's something that's played Cool Morris throughout his career. And I mean, as you can see, 0 rings,
Okay.
not that much playoff success. They did have that one CB run, but his career reaching that twilight
All right.
stage.
Let's talk about some of the people. Let's talk about some of the teams who don't have like who didn't have franchise quarterbacks before this draft. Now we have people like Jet Marlowe. Let's talk about him. I need to know more about him because I haven't been in the college world. I'm just ACFL. All right, so this is Jet Marlowe highlights. Now, also with this, there's a bonus here for you guys. You guys also get free access to 30 minutes of speed glitch.
Yeah, for sure. I actually talked with Jet before the draft, and what was surprising to me is he just was not. He wasn't concerned about where he was being drafted to. That's really one of the big things that I noticed. It's like a lot of these other quarterbacks were like very picky. They're like, I want to go to a winning franchise and I don't want a poverty organization. Keep me away from this
Keep me away
city,
from
etc.,
JSN.
etc. And he
No
was just
name.
like, hey man, I'll do whatever the team needs me. Yeah. And it's like he said, I'll do whatever the team needs me. And it really impressed me. The young man has a bunch of maturity, and I feel like he'll be a great leader in that locker room for Mexico City. That being said, I did not have him rated highly in my pre-draft process, and even in my most recent article on the draft, I basically said he was going to be a bust. Not that he's going to be a bad quarterback per se, but that in relation to his expectations, he's not going to reach those expectations. And part of that's going to be because the Lobos just have an amazing running back in Osa Nelson. But part of that is going to be because I just think Jet Marlowe was a guy who was drafted too early into a position put into a position that he doesn't need to be in quite yet. And to be honest, I was shipping Greg Trelawney to the Lobos before the draft.
Of course, that's an
Uh,
obvious move.
and I still stand by the fact that I think that would have been the better pick.
I mean, that's the obvious move. I understand that. I mean, we got guys. Let me check. We had Diesel too. He could have chosen Diesel. Diesel is a Diesel's a
He
runner,
could have.
meaning we would have had guys like we would have had Osa and then another quarterback on the same team. That's like, let me check something real quick. Yeah, that's like having Michael Vick in the league. I did check. He was in
Yeah,
2001.
it's true. And look, I don't think his eventual destination to the Aviators, I think that's actually worst case scenario for his career. Because the Aviators aren't going to use him in a way that's actually going to maximize his full potential. And so what we're probably going to see is them probably trying to formulate him to the air raid offense and get familiar with the receivers and know the short run game in the red zone. But he's just never going to get those opportunities to just make plays with his legs or turn it upfield. And that's really going to hurt his overall career totals. It's going to hurt his overall potential as a quarterback and his ability to get to where he needs to be. And honestly, I think he would have been a great fit in Mexico City just
Yeah,
because next to Osa, now you can't zero
it
in
would have
on
been
that guy.
pandemonium. It would have been like, what? Who was their quarterback? Who was their running back at the time? Forgot. They have a running. They had a really good running back at the time. The what was that? No, I don't know who was in the league at the Falcons time when they had him.
Yeah. It's Yeah, let's just say that this draft really circumvented my expectations. I mean, we had several five-star prospects just completely fall
Oh, they
in
had
this draft.
Warwick
And like,
Dunn. I'm so stupid. I have no ball knowledge, bro. Warwick Dunn. Dude,
yeah.
that offense was
Oh
a
yeah.
straight, like, it was impossible to stop.
Yeah. Their defense had caught up. Perhaps they would have made it to the Super Bowl. Let's be for real. That offense was crazy.
Let me look.
I will say this though. I will say this. I've never seen this many prospects drop and lose out on money. I know there are a lot of agents who are salty at the way that their player, their guy, dropped so far in the draft. I mean, I'll even give an example. Draymond Lady, he thought he was going to be a top 10 pick. He dropped so far, he lost hundreds of thousands The man's contract is he's gonna have to work to earn his next big contract, and that's really gonna be bad in a league that already is in a state where contracts just can't be paid to some players due to the bankruptcy scandals. And in total we had like one, two, three. We had like 3 5-star prospects just completely fall out of the top 10. And it really changed the trajectory of what this league is going to look like. And part of that was the defense, but part of that was a lot of people just drafting out of position when they didn't need it. Like I did not like the North Pole Penguins pick of Shige at 8. I'm sorry. I just think
Who?
that's not a good idea. Especially when you now that we've got the Jalen Olave trade and Benny Louvu coming to town. It just doesn't make sense for this team to continue
What?
doing that. It doesn't make sense at all.
That's to the. That's not. You said the Penguins. That's to the Empire. Oh, you.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Rod,
Yeah,
this
I
is
missed
what
it.
makes
Nope,
it
I misread it.
bad. No, I'm kidding.
Nah, it's just, even Rob the football freak makes minor typos at times. Yeah, but I did not like that pick. The North Pole Penguins picked up of Shige because there were better prospects in the draft, and if you wanted a elite receiving threat and also building up a different position group, you could have taken one of the tight ends that was still sitting there on the board. I
Oh no.
mean, there was no reason for them to go and take Gay when he probably would have been available round 2, given the weakness of the receiving class in this draft.
All right. I'm gonna pause real quick. Actually, I'm gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna. Can we pause real quick? I gotta go and make sure my mom didn't just call me. Oh yeah, you were. Oh no, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
You were talking about
a bunch of
how the
offense.
Penguin. You didn't like how the Penguin selected Shy Gay so early. I mean, you gotta think about it.
Yeah,
They just selected the best quarterback. They're trying to build a team right now. The first step is quarterback, which they got Greg. Then the next step was a receiver to throw to. So they got. Let me look real quick. So they got the best receiver available. And then let me check next pick they got. Penguins got Barry Stinger. What was Barry Stinger?
he was a tight end. No, yeah. So they're just building their. They were building their receiving corps around their quarterback
Yeah, they were planning
of
for
the
the same
future.
move that the rest of the league's been planning. A pass heavy offense.
And that's the problem. Okay. I mean, look at the last 3 CB winners. I'll give you an example. Let me go find it real quick to prove my point here. Let me find it here.
Championship
Sorry, give me a
history.
second. Yeah, look at the last 3 CB winners. So you have the Supersonics, who have a superstar quarterback who can run. You got the Scorpions, who've got a guy who can run. You got the Mangoes. Joshua Wade's pretty good at running the ball. I mean, we're entering an era in the ACFL where you need a balanced attack. And if you don't have a balanced attack, it's going to be really hard for you to break apart these defenses, especially with a lot of the new talent
I
coming
mean,
into
you
the
gotta think
league.
about not a lot of people have that running back core fixed. So until people get that running back core fixed, it's not really too much of an issue to be dealt with. I hope you don't have to face them in the schedule and it's fine.
I mean, it depends. I mean, it really does depend. I released a power rankings earlier this week on NBC. And in that, I basically listed all the playoff contenders, all of the draft number 1 pick contenders, and then the championship contenders. And what you'll notice, the pattern is the teams that I put up top are the teams that either have elite top end talent or have an elite run game. And the reason that's the case is because you have to factor in the fact that we are entering an era where running really does matter. And if you can't do that, it's going to be really hard for you to generate offense against some of these
Okay.
more talented defenses. I mean, I'll
Yeah, I
even
was
give
gonna
you an
ask a question.
example.
Okay, go ahead.
The
Go ahead.
Sonics
You
defense.
go ahead. I want to
Yeah,
see what you're
go
gonna say
ahead.
first.
Yeah, I was gonna say in this last CB that we just covered, the Sonics defense, probably biggest story of the entire playoffs, to be honest, because the Sonics defense was locked down. There was just nothing that you could do to try to alleviate the pressure that the Sonics defense would bring. And the only way to alleviate that pressure, what we've seen and what we saw throughout the year in the teams that beat them, is to bring a team with a good run game and have that open up the passing game downfield. And unfortunately, a lot of these teams just didn't have that. And it really showed on the biggest stage.
Also, I have a question about the power rankings. What do you see in 1 through 7?
Yeah,
Let's just go by
1 through 7.
What do you see in the mangoes that puts them at 1?
All right, look. The Mangoes, obviously, disappointing loss in the CB. And I've been the main one saying that we might be entering a new era of parity. However, you can't just I just cannot count out the Mangoes dynasty. And they've got a good class coming in. I mean, they add Draymond Lady to go along with Joshua Wade. They add some defense. They add some receivers, and hopefully their free agency period is good. I mean, the core is still there. The core that won the championship a couple of seasons ago is still there, and they're not that far off from making that core a championship core again. The real issue right now is they're going to have to figure out how to shore up that defense, and maybe that comes in the form of a new coordinator or whatever. But here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to doubt the dynasty that's won 5 championships, and a team that people said at one point maybe was unbeatable, especially on the biggest stage.
All right, next the Lions. Like, yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, the
I just
Lions.
want to add. I know you said what's it called? Like, it's either top end talent or defense. I just want to see where you're going with this for each one.
Yeah, yeah. For the Lions, it's definitely the top end talent. I mean, Cole Morse, and I don't care what receivers he's throwing to. When you have Cole Morris at the top running the offense, calling the shots, it's going to be a good team. And we've seen that. They've been good every regular season. And it's just the playoffs where things seem to haunt them a little bit more than usual. And if they can get over that gap, they're absolutely a title favorite the way that their offense is humming in an offensive league.
All right, what about the Lobos? Lobos have been. I'm surprised you have them at 3. Out of
Look,
no, wait. I do want to say
I'm not going to say
you're calling what's his name a bust, but you have Lobos at top 3. I'm confused.
Yeah, and that's what I want to. Yeah, it's it's a complicated pick, and I had the Lobos as low as 7 on the original ranking because I just wasn't sure about this guy. But here's what made me change my mind. Okay, Osa Nelson, we all
Now,
know how good he is, right? We all know he can carry teams to the playoffs. We all know those things can happen. The biggest thing that I think changed for Mexico City is their defense. I mean, I think Peppers is an underrated signing. I think there are guys on that defense that they drafted or that they signed or traded for that are just going to make this defense a heck of a lot more
and Al
difficult to
Byron,
deal
right?
with.
I'm just kidding. The Al
And
Byron's on the.
yeah, unfortunately, Al Byron got traded, and
That was a
honestly, I
terrible
don't love
trade.
that trade for the Lobos. But in terms it was a terrible trade, I will say that. But in terms of the top end talent for the Lobos, I mean, it's still there. You got Olsen Nelson, you got guys on the defensive end like Devin Kendall. I mean, there's really not a weakness in any area other than the quarterback room. And I think if Jet Marlowe can even play at an average level, this team is still a playoff contender and could be a title contender
Hmm.
could things break their way.
Okay, next up, the Sonics. What do you think the Sonics? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Supersonics. Supersonics. They're the defending CB champions, and to be honest, I was not confident in this team to repeat. I didn't think this team was necessarily dynasty material. I know their defense was elite. I just wasn't on board with them repeating with that offense. But once I saw who they drafted, all of that went out the window. I mean, number one in the ACFL, hoisting the trophy, and then you trade up to number two and get Storm Duck. I mean, it can't doesn't get much better than that. That's probably a perfect draft.
All right. Gracias, amigo. All right. So basically, what happened, everybody? What was it? Somebody came into the team talks room and just started yelling slurs. So we had to like pause the stream and get things set up because I don't want to have something stupid happen. You know, like we've had something
Yeah.
close to this happen before. I just don't want it to happen again. So, anyways.
Oh yeah, for sure. There needs to be tact. There needs to be tact on this podcast. But yes.
Now that we're back, let's talk about the Sonics again.
Yeah. Sonics. I was saying, it's definitely they just nailed the draft. Number one team, you add Storm Duck, you're improving the team. That to me is already a win in this draft, and you still have Aaron Bridge, and you still have guys like Eric Bernard. You still have guys like Armand Chung. I mean, the real issue
we
here?
call him Armand Chung.
Oh, wait.
You said that wrong for sure. It's not Armand, it's Armand.
Did I say it wrong?
Yeah, it's Armand, not Armand.
Armand Chung. All right. Yeah, there are still guys on that roster that are still capable of locking down your best players. And what we've seen is it is possible to win with a defensive-oriented roster in the ACFL. And the Sonics just proved it. So I'm not saying they're going to be championship contenders by any means, but I am saying they're going to be super annoying to deal with for any team that's hoping to get there.
Speaking of them not being championship contenders, the term is called contenders.
Yeah, playoff contenders.
Okay.
Playoff contenders was mostly what I meant by that.
You said contenders.
Yeah, the top end of that list is probably what I would consider the championship contenders, along with title favorites. But I would say, yeah, contenders is meaning playoff contenders, teams that'll be in that mix, firmly in that mix, and are probably going to win a playoff game or two, but not necessarily the teams that are going to go all the way.
Okay, next up, the No Name Nothing. Before I start, I do want to say I have the most knowledge about this team. This team has a pretty good defense. However, other than what's his name again? Utumbwe Masapoto having the 6 picks. This team was actually pretty bad in defense this year. This team gave up, let me check the division rankings real quick. 580 points, which is a lot more than like other teams. For example, the entire Frontier had less points. The rest of the Horizon had less points. Some of the Starlight had less points, except for the Aviators. The Atlantic had less points against them. And this is all points against. The Roosevelt had more points against them. And the Midwest had more points against them. He's like, we have one of the worst defenses in the league. And then we also have no running game at all. I want to see what you saw in us.
Yeah, but with that being said, despite all of those flaws, I think it's worth noting went straight to the conference championship round. And that's something to be noted. So even with that lack of defensive pressure, the team was able to get as far as they possibly could. They stretched that talent in a way that made sense, and they added talent within the draft. I like the pick of Kieran Angelor. I don't know if that's how you say his name.
Angelor, close enough. I'll call him Angelor.
Angelor? Yeah. We'll just say Angelor, okay? I didn't mind that pick at all. I think it adds depth. I think it adds youth to the team. And I think the biggest thing is you didn't lose any of your key talent while shipping out all of your veteran talent that was getting old. And that alone will make you a better team come 2006. And with that being said, that's enough to probably get you back to the conference championship once again. And what that means is I would consider you a playoff contender. and I had
When
you
you
at
say you, do
5.
you mean not me?
I had no names at
Yeah, I
5.
kind of
Look,
asked.
I know I'm being facetious here,
I mean, I
but we
know
all
I'm
know
part of
Team
it.
Talks is in bed with no names,
Of
okay? We
course,
all know it.
of course. I just I had to make sure we know who we were talking about here.
Oh yeah,
Anyways,
for sure. And then I like guys like Parkinson's. I wish Okafor was utilized
that's not
more
his
in the
name.
offense.
That's not his name.
Yes, it is.
No. I make the joke all the time. It's Parkinson's. Come on.
Parkinson's.
You can't.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no,
I'm gonna
because
call him Parkinson's.
no.
I'm gonna call him Parkinson's.
I
It's gonna
make
go
that joke. No,
viral.
I make that
Okay,
joke too
that's
much.
what I do.
No,
I'm Rob the Football Freak.
you
I'm
can't do
controversial.
that.
I'm controversial. It's too late.
You can't.
Parkinson's.
All right.
Yeah, I like what he's doing with the offense. I wish Okafor was utilized more, but I think if Okafor is utilized more, this team will be a true championship contender.
I'm sorry. I don't even need to ask about the two because I already know what you're gonna say. Aviators just had a bad season with defense. I'm pretty sure they drafted defense this draft. If not, I don't know. Please correct me.
Yeah, let me check that actually.
No, they drafted
Let me
Diesel.
check it. They drafted. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. See, whenever a team doesn't draft a team need after having a severe weakness all year, I'm just gonna rank that team lower. I was tempted to put the Aviators as high as 3. I'm gonna be for real. But when you don't draft for what your team needs and you don't improve the roster in a way that makes sense around your star, you're just going to get worse. And with the
I do want to
league's
say.
talent, with a lot of the
Oh, go
league's
ahead.
talent shifting to other markets, it's just the Aviators seem to be getting left behind.
I do want to say for a team that I do want to say with this team does have a lot of talent though, and I also want to add with a lot of talent, they've shown that with a brute force offense, you can win stuff. I don't know if they won a championship or not. I forgot. I'm
They've
barely
won a
into teams.
couple, yeah.
Yeah, but they've won some within like the past 5 years at this point. No, what?
Yeah, they've won one.
It
Look,
says they lost
I'll show
51-0 against the Scorpions. Did the Scorpion? Did they put it? They really put up zero
No,
against the
that's
Scorpions?
wrong.
What the heck happened?
51. What are you reading?
I'm
I
reading
see
the
51 to 46.
I'm reading the
51 to
championship
46 is what I
history.
see. Yeah,
Oh,
51 to
I
46.
saw. What was it? It was the. Let me check. Oh, it was the Bronze Bowl.
51 to 46. Yeah, so the Aviators have always been one of those teams that was in contention, but not quite there when it comes to winning the championship. I mean,
Not
even when you
quite
look
there. They
back at a
won
season
two
like,
in the past 5
hold on,
seasons.
I'm getting to it. I'm getting to it. Okay, and even if you look at 1999, make it to the CB, lose to a team that's no longer a market within the ACFL, then they get back to the championship and they finally break through in 2001. We see their breakthrough as an offense. They get even better in 2002, beat the Penguins. Everybody's talking about the Aviators as the next dynasty. And then the very next year, it was clear that they hit a ceiling. They really fell off the next year, and like although they had a good regular season, still it just wasn't enough to carry them to yet another CB. And I think really part of it is that the team was getting old. And when you use the draft, your draft is supposed to be used to improve that defense that is now becoming a liability at times. And instead of improving that, you decided to draft a quarterback, which I'm still going to hate on that move, and I will always hate on that move for teams that are trying to compete for championships. You should not be drafting your future franchise quarterback while you're trying to get Macon Reader another ring. It's just that simple.
All right, go on and yap about JSM. I want to hear this.
Look, I'm going to be so for real about JSM. This team is the epitome of a wild card. Okay. I thought about putting them as low as 15. I thought about putting them as high as 2. Because when this team is clicking,
What?
this team is a good team. The issue is they never click. The issue is that their talent never puts it together
What?
on the field.
What are you
And I will say
doing?
this.
Time out. I gotta.
I will say this.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your statement. I have issues with this list now.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I will. You can state your objections later, but I will say this: they trust the draft, and I know that's a hot take, but like they got all of the players they wanted on the defensive end, which was there they struggled the most last season. And despite dealing with a bunch of injuries, we saw the potential for their offense, and we saw guys like Cable Zero, who's probably going to go down as one of the great tight ends in this league. We saw those guys take a step forward. And although it was a disappointing season for sure, you can't say that it was because of the team's talent. And as long as Devontae Kendall is still in that uniform, they have a chance at winning the championship, regardless of what else happens. The reason I didn't put them as high as 2, and the reason I put them at 4, has more to do with the way
JSM
that
at
their
7.
quarterback room looks. Do I actually?
Yeah, you have JSM at 7.
You sure about that? No, I have them at 4.
Post-draft.
3, 4, 5, 6. Post-draft. Yep, I do have them at 7. You're right. So after the draft, the reason I can't put them any higher than 7 is because their quarterback situation is not one that I'd favor myself. I mean, if you look at their quarterback room, when you have Cairo Douglas in your quarterback room, and he is your emergency option if things go horribly wrong,
you're cooked.
You know that your team is in trouble. And look, I know the guy has talent. It's not because of a lack of talent, but this guy is clearly not the answer that JSM needs at backup quarterback. So until they shore up that quarterback, and honestly, their starting quarterback is not even at that level either. So until they shore up that I was hoping that they would make a quarterback trade this offseason, and they didn't do it. But because they didn't, I think their ceiling is just going to be limited without the ability to have air it out downfield and use guys like Tyreek White in that passing game.
All right, this is the final question I'm going to ask about this list because I'm starting to realize there's issues with this list. Actually, I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
First of all, how could you put the New York, and you can answer this all at the same time because this is about the same team. How could you put the New York Empire above the St. Louis Lancers after the draft? No. I'm going to ask my second question because it ties to Lancers. How do you not have the Lancers at like 3 or 4?
I'm going to be so honest, okay? Mm-hmm. I think the Lancers are a dang good team, okay? I think they're a dang good team. I just can't put them at that high.
Like the second best team last season. What do you mean you can't put them that high?
I just can't. I'm sorry. I think that team is a team that has good regular seasons. I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that they had a great season last year. They did. No one's denying that either. But I think the real problem is that if I look at their ceiling this season, I still see them firmly behind two or three teams in their own conference. So I just cannot justify putting them any higher than what I have.
Who's in that conference? Let me check.
I mean, the Mangoes, I put them behind the Mangoes.
You put them behind
a new and improved.
Don't give me descriptions. Give me the teams.
I'm giving you the teams. I'm giving you Mangoes. Mangoes are ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving you who else? Who's in their conference? Hold on. I had 2 or 3
let me check. I had no clue who was in that. What?
Okay, let me see. Yeah, I got Cowan ahead of them. I got Mangoes ahead of them, and I have who else? Who else do I have ahead of them?
You don't even know who. Come on, man.
I mean, that's too. No. Okay. I have at least those 2 teams ahead of them.
At least at most.
And if the Monarchs have a bounce back season, I would argue that they are also.
They lost Olave. What do you mean?
Look.
What?
There are 2 things that are happening here. One. Here's the first problem with this team. When I look at them, I still see a divisional round exit. I'm just being so for real. And that is just based off of their talent level right now, and partly because I don't trust their draft. I don't trust a lot of their prospects, and I just think their team has an annoying habit of being right there, being a team that you think would be among the best of the best, but just narrowly missing that mark. And because of that, I'm going to leave them outside of the elite top three, top four club that we reserve championship contenders for.
Okay, we could at least put them in contender. Come on. Said
Not when a
four.
lot of the other teams have improved. Not when teams like the Sonics and Lobos have improved. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm sorry, they're
There's
easily
just
better
no
than No
way I could
Name.
justify that. I would say no at the current moment, especially
What?
because the no names have a higher ceiling, especially with their offense. And because they were able to dump some salary, because they were able to get younger and get more talented, it's going to be easier for that team in their conference to go and make a run than it's going to be for the Lancers to overcome their demons.
All right. Before we get any deeper into this, I've already probably gone over the time limit. It's fine. We're just gonna go over the. I gotta cut you off right. I gotta cut it off right here. All right. Next
Okay.
up, we gotta grade every trade from this offseason. Now check
Yeah,
the chamber
for sure.
for that. All right. The reason why I'm gonna stop this part here is because I wanna allow you to watch the rest of this clip before this starts, because after this clip is done, I'm gonna be showing all the trades, and I don't want this clip playing while it's happening. So you get one last game. This is the rest of it.
All right, let's
So let's
see
start with
here.
the Lampkin
Where
trade.
do we- Let's start with that one.
How would you rate
Yeah,
it?
I think I'm going to be honest. I think this was a bad trade for JSM specifically. Just because you have Kendall. So what do you need another running back for when you could upgrade at quarterback? And you're giving away two valuable picks that you might need in future drafts. It just doesn't work. I know in the chamber it was rated as a C tier trade for JSM. I'm going to go farther than that. I'm going to say that was a D tier trade. I mean, this trade does not make JSM better right now, which is what it appears they're trying to do by trading all their picks. And at the same time, with them trading those picks, they're leaving themselves no flexibility to improve this roster in the future. So you're basically stuck with what you have now. And what they have now is not championship material.
Well, let's start. Let's
So
just
I
go
think
based
that's a
off of
horrible
what we
trade.
see, because if let's just go based off of the order of events. Let's not go with like right now it's bad. Like this was the start of what happened to right now. Let's just start with what's happening in that moment. In that moment,
Yeah.
it's not the worst, only because they had picks, right? Like I'm grading this based off of when they what's it called, based off of the time it was traded. So they had picks at that point. So I think that a C is only fair because Kendall is retiring soon. But however, I'm assuming, but he's really not the. It just really wasn't the play.
Look, I just think if you don't have Kendall on your team, this trade would make more sense. Or if Kendall was past the, I don't know. I mean, he is past his prime. Like, no, don't get me wrong. And I think building for the future is a good idea. I just think that when you have a generational talent who has a couple of years left, your goal should be building around him and not trading away future picks. So that's the only gripe I would have with it. It's not a bad trade, but it's a trade that I would say is premature, maybe. Maybe you could have done this trade a season later and it would have looked a little bit better. But I think in a year where it was a make or break year, no.
All right, now my next question. This is gonna explain why I am so infuriated. You put the what's called below them. You put what was it? The Lancers below the what team is this? The Empire. You
Yeah, I'm
gave
listening.
You're telling me you're gonna give them? You're gonna say that the Lancers are below the Empire when the Empire are doing this trade right here? Okay, they're giving up their first round pick. They're giving up their better first round pick for a worse first round pick, and then to compensate for their worst first round pick, they give them their second round pick in the same draft. That was one of the most
Yeah.
diabolical trades I've ever seen. They do not
Oh
take this
yeah.
draft seriously. They take it less seriously than the No Name, and the No Name have done some stupid stuff. Okay, they drafted a
Look,
player in the third round and cut him 10 seconds later. Okay,
I think okay, look. In terms of this trade is objectively bad for the Empire. I'm not saying that.
objectively,
I'm not saying that it's
it's
good.
terrible.
Objectively, objectively it's bad. I'm not going to argue with you on that. But what I will say is, as far as what the Empire did to become a team that's dangerous, I think they've had all the pieces that they need to do that. Look, when you add Benny Luvu and Jalen Olave to your team, even if you have even if you have a team that is should be rebuilding, or even if those guys are old, I'm still saying that those moves and those additions are good enough to the point where this trade doesn't matter too much in the long scheme of things, as long as they don't give away any future picks in any future trades.
All right, so based off of that, it's good. Okay, I mean for that, I tell you, this trade we already know what this trade is. S tier for the Sonics because it's just a fleece, and then F tier for New York. We're not gonna go over this. The next trade, the Julian Jack trade. How do you feel about this?
Oh man. Oh man. Look, I should have covered this trade when it came out on NBC, but I'm going to be honest, with this JSM franchise, I get sick and tired of covering their poverty moves year after year. This is objectively the worst move of the offseason. I don't
That's
think it's
not true.
close. You're taking away here's what you're doing. You're taking away your flexibility within the 2006 draft with generational prospects in a draft where you need to improve. Imagine if instead of having just that one pick in the first round and trying desperately to trade up in that draft, which was very unsuccessful. Imagine you have both of your picks still there. Or better yet, imagine you used a future pick to upgrade within this draft and get another top prospect. But no, instead of doing that, you trade for a 31-year-old tight end on a team that does not have a quarterback to throw him the ball. It is one of the most it's one of the most senseless trades of the offseason. And when you look at the draft capital they gave up, there's just no way this trade is worth it. I don't believe it. I know it's rated D minus tier in the chamber, but F tier for
I mean,
JSM.
they did get a 2007 first round pick and a second
I can't
round
lie.
pick. No, never mind. No, that's wrong. They did get a 2009 first round pick, and they did get another second that year, like this year.
They did. And look, when you get a tight end like that, I'm saying that's the bare minimum that you should get. There's no way that they should have left all those other picks on the table. No Name doesn't knowing that No Name has done some stupid things in the draft. The least you should do, especially when you're trading for an old tight end on a team that doesn't need it, you should definitely be looking for at least 2007, 2008 draft assets in that trade, and you're not looking for them. Instead, you're trading them away. I think that's just completely diabolical by JSM. There's no excuse for this trade.
All right, so you rate it F tier for JSM, and what do you rate No Name? S or what?
S tier. I
Okay.
mean, whenever you can get off a tight end who's super old, who's getting up on the older side, a guy who's maybe about to reach the end of his prime, and you can dump him for penny. You can dump him for great draft capital in the future. I mean, you take that deal every single time. I don't care where those draft picks are. It could be the last pick in every draft for all I care. That's still going to net you better value than that 31-year-old tight end. That's a great trade for no name.
All right, next up, the Oren Wonen trade. Basically, the trade that got the trade that got the what's it called, the first round pick.
Yeah.
What are we rating this one?
Well, when you have a team trading for the number one overall pick, that's something that look, it should be objectively good, and I think it is objectively good. I'm just gonna rate it just a tad lower than what the status quo is rating this trade. I mean, a lot of people are calling this a win-win for both sides, and like these teams are improving based off of this deal that they made. But look, I said this before and I'll say it again. If Jet Marlowe ends up not being the guy you think he is, this trade is awful. You trade everything to get a quarterback that's rated to get the third rated quarterback in his class. And it's not like this guy is a generational prospect. If he ends up being anything close to a average quarterback or somebody who just can't take you over the top, this is objectively a bad trade because you're giving away so much draft capital in the process as well.
Yeah, 2007
And
is
you're
gone.
giving away, yeah. And I mean, you're basically giving up a promising QB. I'm not going to say that Oren was amazing, but I'm going to say you're giving up a promising QB and multiple valuable assets for a maybe he will work, maybe he won't work trade. So it's a B tier trade for Lobos. But if Marlowe ends up being a bust, I'd rate this trade an F.
And then for Pythons, it's just an S, right? They got these picks. Or you rated it an
Yeah,
A?
I think for a team
Or would you rate this?
that's going to be bad. No, go ahead.
It's like, or would you rate this maybe like an A because this first round pick could have been like their like tank. I don't know what his name is. No, their Greg Trelawney or something. This could have been their
Yeah,
start.
that I agree with. Yeah, that makes sense, and I'll probably rate this trade an A. However, whenever you can get a lot of draft capital for a team that you know is going to be bad and rebuilding for the next couple of seasons, that's always a good trade, always. And the Pythons, that's just a good job of trying to acquire as many assets as possible to try to become good down the line, especially because it doesn't feel like they're going to compete this year.
All right, next up. The Sonics received the third round pick. The third pick.
Yeah.
Not third round. This is I think a good trade for both of them, right?
Yeah. See, do you want me to rate? Here's what I'll do. I'll rate the trade at the time, what I was thinking when that trade went
Just
down,
at the
and
time.
then I'll rate it within the context of the draft.
No.
Because I think there's some context that's needed for this trade,
All right, go ahead.
especially when it comes to. But yeah, at the time of this trade, I was thinking, all right, you're trading your second round pick. And by no means is this draft weak. This draft has some good talent. And you're trading it to a team that's going to be rebuilding. So, I will say, since you're trying to compete now, this is a good trade for the Sonics. At the time, I thought it was a B tier trade. I didn't think it was worth it to trade up. And for the Penguins, I think, yeah, anytime you can receive that kind of draft capital in a draft this loaded, and for a team that's going to be bad in the near future, you always take that. With context,
Okay.
this trade is a win-win for both sides. Like it's not even it's a no-brainer here. Knowing that the Sonics were going to use that pick to draft another superstar already validates the trade for me.
Yeah, this was like
That's the only thing I'll say about that.
the top. Like this is a pretty good draft. Like it's a really good draft. But then the top spots are generational. So I think that them trying to get up there, I think does help you.
Yeah,
All
for
right.
sure. And with those prospects up there, yeah, that makes it a better trade. Otherwise, that would be at the time I was iffy on it. I was like, oh, maybe not. But I've had time to think about it, and that trade's a win for both sides.
All right, 4-5 pick swap plus Breon Reader.
Well, I'm going to say this is a win-win for both sides. I know this trade was graded as a B tier for JSM in the chamber. I'm going to say S tier both sides. I mean, whenever you have a chance to get a potential superstar receiver while trading only one spot down, you always take
I mean,
that.
potential.
I
He's been in the
mean,
league one
honestly, I
season. We
think
didn't
this
see
was a
his
little bit
stats.
of an overpay. I think this was a little bit of an overpay by the Penguins. I
Oh, the
think this guy
Penguins.
has super potential. And I think to trade him away this prematurely was an interesting move. However, because the Penguins are going to be rebuilding, it just makes sense. It does make sense for them to make this trade. And so I'm going to cut them some slack on that. And I'm going to say A tier for both sides.
Okay. Next up, um, the what's it called? The no name received the first round pick. The second received the Sonics first round pick. Before no, this
Yeah.
remember we're grading this based off of before what's it called their next moves.
Yes.
Based off of how they've already
Look,
played.
I
Go
just
ahead.
think before their next moves, look, without the context of the free agency signings that they were going to make in the future,
Yeah, because we didn't know all that.
that doesn't excuse this trade in the slightest. Okay? It just doesn't. Look, I understand trying to acquire future assets, but this is where my praise for the Empire ends. If you know you're not going to be a championship contender immediately, your job is to save those picks, especially if you need to improve the roster down the line. You're not going to be able to do that if you're trading away picks that may have value in future
Hey,
drafts.
excuse
So
me.
for the Empire, this trade is terrible.
Excuse me. I
I'm,
like to
I'm going to
say,
be so for real.
why did it end so late? They traded away a better pick for more, for less. You,
Yeah,
it should have ended there. You let it keep on going for how long?
I mean, look, that's the simple explanation. We can move on with that one if that's what you're
All right, let's try and
that's
get
the opinion that we're gonna take.
a little bit faster. Not too much. Let's actually. I don't really care. Penguins receive the third round pick. I don't know. You see, I originally
Look,
rated this an S tier for the um. So I originally rated this an S tier for the Lobos. I don't know.
I really don't
Like
know.
I think it's
I
good,
mean,
but they traded away
I just
way too
think
much picks.
they did. I mean, this to quote the words from Thex in the chamber. Look, there are some teams that just don't care. And I think the Lobos is one of those teams. I mean, I think it's clear that they were willing to dump whatever assets they needed to get as many picks in this top three as possible, which originally I thought was a good idea. And I think that's a good idea in the context of this trade. Okay. So I'm going to rate this a good B tier for both sides. But what I will say is that actually no, I'll
Both
give the
sides.
Penguins
What? Yeah.
I'll give the Penguins an A tier. I'm sorry, my mistake.
Wait, I'm confused on why they're not S. But take some S from you. They lost only 5 spots and
I'll
got
give
two
this
first
an
round
A
picks.
tier. I will say. I'm sorry. I just lost the trade. Hold on. There we go. I just think that the Lobos' first round picks in these next couple of years are not going to be as valuable because they're going to be trying to compete for championships.
It's still a
So
first
with
round
that
pick.
in mind, those picks. Those picks aren't gonna be picks that the Penguins can use to rebuild, which is what they were attempting to do with this trade at the time. And so because of that, I'm not going to give them an S tier on that. However, if they somehow struck gold and the Lobos end up being a team that Flames out in the playoffs or something like that in the near future, I'm giving this tier. I'll bump them up to S tier at that point, because at that point, you've done exactly what you need to do to rebuild, and without giving up too much. So I would say, yeah, that's a good trade.
Where are they at? I am here. Okay, next one. The Aviators traded for pick 5. Yeah, they traded for pick 5.
Yeah, they did. Hmm.
I think this was
No, they
an
traded away
overpay
pick
too.
5. They traded away pick 5 to the Penguins.
Wait, what?
Aviators traded the pick to the Penguins.
Yeah, I think this was a slight overpay too.
Uh,
2 first round
look,
picks for. Actually, no, they do get it. Yeah, but
look, I think here's the thing. The Aviators at the time of this trade, they knew they had a disappointing season, okay? And they were trying to make some moves that would try to give them an opportunity to change that. Look, giving up 2 first round picks is not that move.
yeah, so the Aviators
Giving
gained
up
from
2
that.
first rounders.
Aviators gained from that.
Yeah.
Okay. You said
Giving up, yeah. So here's the thing. They had a disappointing season. You know you're going to be disappointing. Giving up 2 first round picks is not the move to improve the team. It's just not, ever. I don't care which team is trading that out. No, you just don't do that unless there's a generational talent or multiple that you think you can snag by trading away multiple first round picks.
Well,
there's just no excuse for this trade.
um,
So I'm actually going to rate it lower. I'm going to say it's a D tier for the Penguins.
I do want to say with that though, this was a generational draft. They have 5th and I think 8th now at the time of this. What?
Yes.
Like, I think that doing this gave them really good.
I think if they had traded into the top 3 with this trade, it would have been a better trade. But solely going off the context of this trade, you can't. I would say it's hard to defend them when you didn't even trade into the top 3 where the best prospects were, and that's part of my issue. It's fine to try to get that generational talent, but if you're going to wait till picks 5 and 8 to try to snag them, it's just not going to be a good idea.
All right, let's go to the next one. No Name gives up their first round pick.
Oh my! Where do I even start with this? No,
I do want to say it is basically a second rounder. That's just the song. That's just the Sonic's pick.
That's true. However,
now if it was higher, then it'd be an F tier.
Yeah. Look, I'll even be generous. I'll give No Name a C tier for this trade.
A C tier?
But the only reason I'm giving them, but honestly, the only reason I'm giving them a C tier is because this team's already proven they don't care about the draft, and they've found other ways to rebuild in the past, and you would trust them to do that in the same way in the future. But that's the only reason I'm giving them a C. Honestly, I didn't like this trade at the time, and it just didn't make that much sense to me. I'll just say that. The only saving grace, like you said, is that pick was not that high in the first round.
I do want to say, let me check real quick. 2007 has been their target. No Names received a 2007 first and second from JSM. They have received, let me look for the trades. They trade away 2008, 2009. I mean, that's not what they need. They trade, No Name receives a 2007 second, which is, although bad here, this is what they're going for, and they have started to build for the future. That's what, 1, 2, 3. I think there are 6 current 2007 picks.
Yeah, and I think you stockpiling on those draft picks is a good idea. I just think trading out of this draft was a bad idea.
I can understand where you're coming from. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
Uh,
how do you rate the Penguins though? Because the Penguins, they've given up a lot of future now. Like at this point, they're giving up a lot of future.
for sure. And if they were first round picks, I'd be more wary. But because this draft was generational and you're trying to rebuild your team the right way, I think this trade did make sense. With now we do have the context of what the Penguins were doing, and basically what they were doing was stockpiling as many first round picks and early seconds as they possibly could. And with that context, I think that was a great idea, especially with the amount of players that fell within the draft.
I mean, true. All right, let's get to the next one really quickly. The Olave trade.
Oh man. Oh man.
Where
Let
are
me
you
tell
with
you, when I
this? This
oh
is
my
straight.
goodness.
Go ahead.
When I first saw this trade go through, I went to Lillian Peters and I said, look, the Monarchs are really going to regret this. And I stand by that. Okay? The Monarchs are trading away their franchise quarterback for Joseph Day. Oh my
I mean, yeah, but
gosh.
they're probably gonna get
I'm
some.
sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but there's just no way this trade. I know people say Olave's overrated. He was getting old. There was a lot of reasons that the Monarchs might have made this trade. I don't care. This guy should have been a Monarch for life, and there's no way that you trade him away for Joseph Day. Unbelievable. I'm in fact giving the Memphis Monarchs a D tier for this trade. You got worse, and there's really no path to the future. That's the real problem. I don't believe in Joseph Day. I don't know many of my analysts who I would talk to who believe in Joseph Day.
Do you believe
And
in a
if the
high
Monarchs
second
believe
round?
in him,
Yeah, do you believe in a high second round pick?
not in this trade, I don't. You're trading away the all-time leader in four different passing stats for a second-round pick. I'm sorry. No. D tier. New York, look, I like this trade for you actually, but I'm going to put it at B tier. And here's why. You're supposed to be building for the future. And you're trying to compete for what? A late playoff spot, a last seeded playoff spot just to get bounced. Mediocrity is not the way to rebuild. It's just not. And although that this is going to make them better as a team immediately, I think it's important to note that in the long run, this team is going to be in a terrible situation in terms of trying to get to the point of a championship contender. Mediocrity is the worst place to be.
All right. Let's get to the next one really quickly because I don't want to put my opinion on this one. Lawson Bond. That
Oh
was
man.
that was the biggest deal of the draft, probably even bigger than that Sonics trade with Empire. It's
Perhaps. Honestly, this trade, I was shocked. Okay, there was a bidding war. See, here's the problem with this trade that I have. There was a bidding war for Lawson Bond going on at the time of this trade, right? You could have gotten for a talent like this guy, you could have gotten multiple firsts. You could have maybe gotten a QB out of it, a backup QB to develop. You could have gotten an extra piece in the receiving room, another defensive, anything. Instead, you give up a Hall of Fame caliber player for Jesse Johnson? And make no mistake, look, I like Jesse Johnson, okay? I think he's one of the better offensive
no. Don't
linemen
give him
that
that.
this league has ever
Don't
seen.
give don't give him that because he also traded an offensive lineman back. So in reality, it's
Yeah,
Lawson Bond
that's true.
for a second and a third.
Honestly, and that's what makes the trade even worse. The fact that you could have just said, "Hey, look, we're not giving you Charlie." But somehow, oh boy. Oh, this is really bad. You're basically doing an O lineman swap, and you're taking on the worst of the two because Jesse Johnson is getting old. And you're doing that to receive a second and a third. It would be one thing if you were getting a generational prospect in this draft, but look at you. Look at this. I mean, oh man, this trade was really bad. And it makes it worse the fact that Lawson Bond was in it. There was a bidding war for this guy. So if you wanted to, you could have jacked up the price as high as you wanted to jack it up. But instead, you took this lame offer from JSM who normally can't get players like this.
And I want you to think about this. This is a win now trade because what's it called? At this point, they've
Yeah.
lost all their draft, most of the good draft picks. This is the win now trade.
Oh yeah, for sure. And especially when you don't have any picks for 2007 or 2008 anymore. This is win now mode. Now is the time for JSM. And honestly, if you're gonna do it, how about get a Hall of Fame linebacker? How about that?
All right, the next big trade. There's literally nothing here. It's the it's a pick swap.
One of the biggest what kind of trades that I heard.
Well,
Okay,
not really
like when I
what,
saw
just
this,
huh? It doesn't really matter.
when I saw this trade, I was confused at the intent of both teams. Like, I don't understand. I really don't understand what the point of this trade is. So there's really nothing to rate. I feel like a C is just a perfect rating for both of these teams because neither of them
It
knew
was
what
the
they were doing
most
with this trade.
trade of all time.
I don't understand. It was the most. It was one of those trades where it's like, okay, look, it's not a bad trade because you can't rate a trade bad when you're just swapping thirds.
I do want to
But
say,
what's good about it?
time out. I do want.
What's good about it?
I do want to say, the reason why they're both C plus, they have what's it called. They have a low pick. So Lobos stockpile another pick for this draft, which this draft has been pretty good. However, the no name, we've said this before, are now at 7, I think. 7 2007 picks. This whole
That's
time,
unbelievable.
they've been running a whole scheme, and now they are at 7 picks. It was, what's it called? Let me check the draft real quick. It was 2 firsts, 3 seconds, and 2 thirds.
Yeah,
That's absurd.
I mean, it's absurd. It's absurd for sure. And if the no names do something good with these picks, then yeah, let's rate that higher. But we're dealing with the present, okay? And the no names have been known to screw their picks
I know,
in the
and
past. They've been
at that
known to
point-
do things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's 7 picks. They
They've been,
can't mess up 7 times. At least in this moment.
maybe.
In this moment.
I wouldn't trust them to nail even 1 or 2 of these picks, to be honest. And that's the real issue.
I mean, I do want to say, actually, that's for the future. My fault. Nonsense for the future. All right, let's go on.
Yeah.
JSM for Kenneth Byron. No.
All right, look. This was a good trade for JSM. And I'm going to be controversial when I say this. I know it gives up future draft capital. I know it gives up another pick in a loaded draft.
It was 2008.
But like, it's Kenneth Byron, okay? The man was literally hyped as one of the best prospects in maybe an ACFL draft history. The only thing that makes this trade a B for JSM for me is the fact that his toxic behavior was well documented. And JSM knew this and still actively traded for him. Which, knowing JSM, that's just what they do. So at this point, it's hard to be surprised when a poverty franchise does poverty things. At the same time, though, you can't deny the talent. So this has to be at least a B tier for JSM.
I can't deny the talent, but if something goes wrong in this organization, they lose, they have nothing to rekindle themselves, except, let me check, a 3rd round in 2007. They do have that. Oh. I'm gonna be trying to trade for that. I'm just joking. They have a 3rd round 2007 to save them from casualties. So if they do bad this year, it's over.
It could be over. That's what I will say. The one thing that makes it not over is that you still have your core. You still have a relatively young quarterback. And you still have an opportunity to trade those pieces away to teams that need them. And if you want to go full rebuild mode, you can. If you want to go retool around Kendall, you can do that. If you want to trade Kendall, you can still do that. I think this move was to say, hey, Kendall, don't retire just yet. We have a ring for you. if you stay.
Okay, well,
And honestly, that makes me hate the trade just a little bit less.
you know what makes me hate the trade just a little bit less? If somehow,
What?
like, as if somehow they fail this year, right? Which I expect them to, but that's beside the point. Then, you know, they have their third round 2007, however that's going to help. And then because they have their third round 2007, basically the same thing is going to happen. And then they're left with 2008. And what do they have in 2008? Well, at the point of this trade, before the trade, they had a 2008 first round pick, and that was it. That was their saving grace. Say they did bad in 2007, oh, another top prospect. Nope, they have nothing in this draft. First round pick given away to the Lobos. Second round pick given away to, I think at the moment is the, I think at that point in time it was the nothing. Third round pick given away to the, given to the, I think that one was given to the No Names too before being traded to the Penguins or something like that. Point is, they have nothing. If they do bad this season, it is over.
I don't know about that, and that's the real issue.
No, no.
You still have Kendall. You still have a former defensive player of the year, and you still have a guy. You still have multiple good cornerbacks on your team, and if you need to, you have just enough sway as a championship contender to sway some veterans to come to your team for one last ride. And honestly, when you have a talent like Kendall, you don't want him sitting in the middle of a rebuild for the last few years of his career. So, if he's going to retire within the next few years, this trade makes a lot more sense. He retires. Now you have 2009 to build your future with a new superstar. And now you're giving Kendall one last chance to cement his legacy among the GOATs.
Hold on, I need to look at something. I'm looking for it real quick. Where is this at? Where is this pick at? I said I was gonna do something. Wait, where's it at? Alright. This came before the newest trade. Okay? Now you look for it.
Okay.
There it is. Go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah.
Barrett's retiring. Oh, man.
Or as labeled by the fans, which I did have a person say this, come up and say this to me. They called him Picasso Tourette's.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Look, that's no way to treat a future Hall of Famer. I will say this, though.
It is funny. Really? Really?
There's just no way that this No Names team thinks it's a good idea to retire Barrett in this state. I'm sorry. It's really I look. I know you're trying
you
to.
you gotta understand. They have 2007.
They do, but they're not going to use those draft picks in a way that makes sense. So with that, bringing
all 7 of
Picasso in
them?
and saying, "Hey, you're going to retire. You're going to retire here." Not only are you losing talent, you're actively going to screw yourself over by not giving yourself enough ways
Also,
to
he
acquire
did
more
say
talent, especially with the horrendous draft history of this front office.
they did say might, and also I'm pretty sure they took Parkinson's. No,
Yes.
in the draft.
I want to say yes,
At that point, it's
but
probably
I still just I don't like the move, and
Hey,
it's
they
just not
drafted
good.
every single. No, no, no. Wait, before I talk about that, they drafted everybody on this team except for like Rocky Artemis. But besides the point, they drafted everybody at that point in time.
Look, I'm not denying that their reputation has improved, but their reputation cannot get out of the gutter until they prove that they value the draft more than just for laughs and giggles. Okay,
Why else would
so
they do a tank?
that's We'll just
All right, anyways.
yeah, we all know about the tanking scandal. Okay, let's not get into that.
All right, anyways. For wait, all right, for the last trade, because this one was like after the Picasso Burt information. So now that we have that, we can actually talk about this last trade and actually have more context.
Oh yeah.
The New York Empire trade away their 2008 first round pick. No, actually, technically, let me say it like this. Actually, just look at the trade. I'll explain it. Basically, it's a pick swap from first to second round for. It's a pick swap with first and second round for a third round pick for a 2008 third. No, that's wrong. That's extremely wrong. That is super wrong. What? Why would he say that? It's a two. What? Did I mess that up? No, I said 2007. What is he doing? Bro, he's sitting here invalidating our trades. But no, because the trade. This is an invalidated. The reason why this isn't an invalidated trade is because I wrote it right the first time. He just said it wrong. It's a 2007 third
Uh-oh.
round pick. Don't worry. I'm not letting this one slide. It's fine.
So they're trading. No Names is trading away a 2007 third. Is what you're saying.
Yeah, they're trading one of their 2007, what's called, low picks.
I got you. Yeah. Look, with this context, I'm gonna say this about the Empire. Okay, it makes sense why they made this trade. It does, but at the same time, it's you just don't. I just feel like you have to get more value back for a first round pick. There's no way. There's no way you thought that this would be enough value. There's no way you thought this. And I would be willing to excuse it more if you didn't trade for
Bro,
Jalen
there's no way we
Olave.
actually went for an hour again. I'm gonna have to edit all this and I'm gonna have to like shoot myself in the head after. Come on, bro.
Yeah,
No.
that's right.
All right. Doesn't matter. It was a good hour though. This is
All
like
right.
one of the most productive hours I've ever had in my life. All right, what are
Oh
we
yeah.
rating these trades?
Oh yeah.
What are we rating this?
Whoa. I'm just gonna
The correct
slap a
versions.
grade on this. The correct version. Let's see here. Let's with because they're getting a 2007 third, not a 2008 third, which appears to be a typo. This trade gets slightly redeemed. It's just not good enough. I would rate this a C. And for the no names, it's a B. I mean, trading for a 2008, that's fine, but like what is their goal here? It's one thing to accumulate picks, but it's not like the no names roster is devoid of talent. So what are these picks for?
You know what I think it
It would be
is?
one thing if you're
Okay, go ahead.
trading. It would be one thing if they're trading for a generational talent or anything like that, but it just doesn't appear there's a purpose to these acquiring all these picks.
Well, if they retire Picasso Barrett, I mean, I'm assuming like, because you gotta think about it. I don't think I've said this in the chat yet, but this is the actually. My thing's still records. Let me go and check Retro Bowl right now. All right, I decided to cut off the last 15 minutes because this is already gonna take me forever. So I gotta make the outro. That is it for this episode of Team Talks. Thank you to Rob the Football Freak for joining us. And before we leave, I want to say one little thing to Rob the Football Freak, and I know that he can't really hear me because whatever. He may become a mainstream media, and that would mean that we're able to do a lot more content on the ACFL. This content could potentially help us out, man. So, have an amazing day, everyone. Peace out, and I'll tell you what happens.